All right, thank you for joining me here on the Project Management Nation. It's been a little while since I've published any videos. Excited to get back to it. There's a lot to talk about. And in fact, today's video, I want to talk about something that is very timely, very relevant, I think, to all of us. And that is the idea of what's going to happen to project managers in this potential economic downturn that's coming. We've seen lots of headlines in the news about tech companies laying off people by the thousands and tens of thousands. Is that impacting project managers? And what do we do about it if it is? And so I want to talk about some of those topics today. So the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that we have to own our own careers. It's not up to our companies to give us a career. It's not up to the government. It's not up to anybody to manage our careers. That is on us. And so right now, as we're looking at potential downtimes, it's important for us to think about those economic challenges. So right now, layoffs are a challenge for everybody. But did you know that artificial intelligence is starting to become a much bigger thing? So ChatGPT has been out there in the news a lot. Very interesting technology. Right now, don't hear a lot about it impacting project management. But if you didn't know this, Oracle, the big company out there that does software and databases, they've actually now built a module that's called, it's a program management, project management helper artificial intelligence app that comes with their suite of products. And so it's artificial intelligence could very well impact us sometime in the future. So there's a lot of pressures that are hitting project managers right now. It's interesting to note that project managers are often considered middle management. We may not have people who report to us, but because of what we do and managers in the title and all of those things, we're considered middle management, not necessarily executives and certainly not entry level. And unfortunately, middle management is often targeted in layoffs. It's one of the first places that go. What happens is that leadership starts to narrow their focus. They want to focus on just their most strategic initiatives. And when they do that, a lot of these programs that had seemed important at the time are no longer important. That means the need for project and program management goes down. That can impact the need for project and program management and your job. So to keep your job, you need to be unique. You need to be invaluable. Now, being unique and invaluable is important, and that may help you keep from being laid off. However, if your company is actually in financial trouble, it's not really going to stop that from happening. Layoffs are going to happen no matter how unique or good you are. So you need to develop a plan B. You need to treat job finding like a job. So assuming that something has happened and you've lost your job or you feel like your job is in real jeopardy, start to put in regular hours. Treat your job search as if it's a job. Mark out 2 or 3 hours every day to polish your resume, to look for opportunities online, and there's tons of them, and make sure that you're out there networking. There are a ton of local groups. PMI has them. I know that there are a lot of Scrum groups that meet locally or online and to discuss project and program management, and often there are a lot of leads to opportunities that are out there. For those of you who have seen any of my prior videos, you know that I'm kind of lukewarm on certifications. They're a good thing to have, but honestly, they're table stakes. Everybody has them. You need to go deeper. But one of the things where I think certifications can be of use is if you broaden the way you think of yourself. So you may be a solid project and program manager, but what about the key enablement skills that it takes to take whatever it is that you're doing as part of your project and make it really work for the end user? How do you do your change management? I'm not talking about technical change management. I'm talking about the kind of change management that really makes that new skill or process or technology sticky for the end user. Those are the things that we need to be working on, and there are a lot of certifications there. So I would suggest that you look through and you see what might work for you. Business analysis, that's another close profession and skill set that often project managers either have or get asked to do, even if it's not part of the main project. So that's a good thing to look at also. You may want to think about up-leveling your financial skills, your budgeting. Can you really talk the talk when you're working with budget professionals? Do you know the difference between OPEX? Do you know the difference between CAPEX? Do you know what to do about accruals? There's a lot of things on the financial side. What about negotiations? Often project managers are called on to work with vendors, sometimes at the early stages before the contract is signed. Do you know how to negotiate effectively? What about your communication skills? What about your tech skills? Do you know the tools that are out there and commonly used for managing projects? What about security skills? Security is prevalent everywhere. Take a look at what's out there, find ways to deepen your skill set. So let's assume that you've been laid off. One of the first things you need to do is think about what it is you're willing to accept in the future. Having some time between your career, between jobs is totally fine, but you don't want too much time to go by. It's hard on you financially. It's also something that you have to explain on your resume. So you want to be able to get back into the workplace pretty quickly. You may want to be open to contracting. Now, for those of us who have mostly had full-time jobs, contracting may not seem that appealing, but there are actually some really good benefits to contracting. The amount of pay that you actually bring in can sometimes be higher, especially if you're an independent contractor. But there are also some implications, some tax implications. So you need to be aware, if you're in the US, you need to file your taxes quarterly. You've got to pay your own self-employment tax and things like that. But don't eliminate the idea of a contract job. I can say on 2 different occasions, I have started off as a contractor and worked it into a full-time role that has turned out to be really, really good. And that contracting role was really the key to getting into that great company. Another thing to think about is if you have a certification, especially something like a PMP or any of the PMI certifications, is get your PDUs knocked out. Go ahead and make sure that you are set up so that when it comes time to renew that certification, that all of your PDUs are in place and that you've got all of that locked down. It's also a good idea to get involved in leadership in some of these organizations. A lot of times they're looking for volunteers to help put together events or to manage communications or whatever it may be, vice president of XYZ within your local project management community. That looks good on the resume, also helps you to really network with people who are deep into our profession. Finally, the thing that I think is really critical when you're out there and you're either worried about your job or you've lost your job is stay positive. Know the value that you have as a project manager and that experience that you have. Don't let your brain play tricks on you. That is really valuable experience and you have value in whatever you do. But sometimes it can get dark, especially if it stretches out for a long time. So reach out to friends and family and keep yourself mentally healthy, physically healthy, and do everything that you can to make sure that when that opportunity arises, you are ready for it, you're excited about it, and those who are on the hiring side of it can really feel that energy coming from you. I had a friend many years ago who had been out of work it was going on a couple of years. I got them an interview at the company I worked for. It was with my manager. And I talked up my friend and said, hey, this guy's really great. And he knew his stuff. He was an engineer, an IT engineer. But my boss came to me right after they spoke and said, man, what is wrong? He's a nice guy, but he was negative during the whole thing. And he just talked about the impact that being without a job had on him. And it was a very, very down interview. And even though I knew that friend could have done a great job in the company, he blew his interview because he was in the wrong headspace. So we got to make sure that our headspace stays really strong. All right, I hope that you enjoyed the content of that video and that it was useful for you. Please like and subscribe. Also, please put in the comments any comments you have, any thoughts, expand the ideas that I presented. Also, if you've got ideas for other videos, please let me know. Right now, I'm going to take a second to do a shameless plug. A couple of years ago, I wrote a book. I was fortunate enough to have it picked up by a publisher. It's called The MBA Distilled for Project and Program Professionals. And it talks about the experience that I had getting my MBA while being a project and program manager. It covers all of the core MBA courses from corporate strategy to finance, accounting, economics, and it takes the learnings from the MBA program and applies it to our profession. I really enjoyed writing the book. I think there's a lot of great skills that we can apply to our profession in it. My favorite chapter, though, is the very last chapter. And if you are a project or program professional and you're thinking about getting your MBA, you're going to want to read that chapter. It will help you to decide. I believe in the power of the MBA and that it can be a real career booster, but not for everybody. And I talk through all of my logic as to why. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the video.